All right, welcome back, everybody. This week is our first week of our Creep Us Out episodes, and it might be our first of many. We are thinking we're going to change over to doing scary stories, whether it's paranormal or just something spooky. I guess paranormal is unexplained, but I mean, even like a scary burglar story would be creepy. So we're going to try to compile those from around the world and share those because I think people tend to like the scary part of the stories better than the history. If you have any thoughts on that, you can please email us at creepytravelspodcast@gmail.com and we'd be happy to take your suggestions. Right now, we don't have enough submissions from our followers to use those. So I do have one from a follower that we will read today, and then we're going to, for now, look some up until we have enough of a following where everyone keeps submitting different stories. So to start us off, Alan's going to read a story.
So my first one is very short. It's off of Reddit. It's by someone named MM Manio. That's their username. So this one's very short, but it's creepy. So they write, "My mom was traveling for work and sat next to a man on the plane. They had a casual conversation and exchanged business cards. Later that evening, she's in her hotel watching TV and gets a phone call from the front desk that her husband is here and they want to know if they can give him a key to the room. Turns out the creep on the plane was pretending to be her husband to try to get into the room." That's the whole story.
Oh my
and
God.
It's super creepy.
That is creepy.
And
did she say no? Because she thought it was odd?
I looked to...
Oh, they didn't go further into
they
it?
left it open-ended. I looked to find, and that's what other people are asking. Yeah,
see, I
really
like that.
creepy.
It's not paranormal. It's just straight up creepy, which fits our...
I'm glad that they called, though.
Yeah, instead of just... Yeah, I get nervous that some places might just give away. Be like, oh, okay. So mine is from our follower, Max. Thank you for submitting this to us, Max. And he said this was long, but I'm reading the whole thing because we need every detail. So he said, "Hey guys, love the show so far. Keep it up." So Max, if you don't think we should change this, give us a little input. So he says, "I'll try to keep this simple and to the point if possible. In 2011, I traveled to Cheyenne, Wyoming for some job training. The company I was working for at the time put me up in the Plains Hotel." And he shared a link, so I'll share that in our notes.
Wait, where was this at?
Cheyenne, Wyoming,
Okay.
at the Plains Hotel. I was to stay there for 10 days. I arrived late on Sunday night and had to be to the training center early Monday morning, so when I checked in, I hardly had time to get familiar with anything in the hotel or my room. I pretty much dumped my bags on the floor and flopped into bed. Fast forward to Tuesday when it was decided training was canceled for the day. I don't remember why, so I spent some time in the hotel. It's an old building built in 1911, I believe. The lobby was magnificent, and the overall feel of the place was old-timey saloon vibes. I left the hotel midway through the day for lunch with some coworkers, and when I arrived back to my room, every single light was on. The main overhead light, those annoying little desk lamp things, and even the bathroom light was on. I don't know about you guys, but I was raised in the typical Midwestern household where leaving a light on in an empty room was blasphemous, so I make sure to turn off all the lights before leaving. It's important to note I always place the Do Not Disturb place card out whenever I'm at a hotel as well. So unless house cleaning was playing some joke, it was still very weird to walk in on. So that was the first occurrence. We are the same. For the most part, we turn every light off. I feel like I always leave just the one right when you enter on, so I'm not as spooked to get in the room. But we do that too. We put the Do Not Disturb card because I just don't want anyone in there. Like, you don't need to clean anything. It's fine.
After your Dear David story, I did not like to be in the dark.
Yeah, right?
I left lights on here and there.
Yeah, exactly. The second occurrence is even weirder. I went to bed that Tuesday night with the TV on as I normally do for some background noise, but I always set a sleep timer for the TV to shut off after an hour. It was quite shocking when I woke around 3 a.m. to find the TV playing static and the bathroom light on once again. I should have prefaced this with I am a firm believer in the unknown, so paranormal, UAPs, etc. After a quick check of the room, I was obviously alone, but could hear what sounded like crying coming from the hall. My door to my room is at the end of the hallway facing down the hall, so by looking into the people, I could see the entire hall and no one was there. I gathered myself and tried to go back to sleep for the following day. Fast forward to the last few days of my stay. Throughout the week, there were the lights and TV things happening maybe every other day. I Googled the hotel and came across a story of a bride and groom who were on their honeymoon there in the early 1900s. The story goes that the groom went down to the lobby for a drink and ended up meeting a prostitute. The bride, Rosie, went looking for her husband and saw him and the lady of the night heading up the stairs to a private room. Rosie went back to the honeymoon suite and grabbed her husband's gun and shot them both before turning the gun on herself. It's rumored she still walks the halls crying and screaming and sometimes laughing. On my last 2 nights there, I dedicated my time to trying to experience this. I would wander the halls late at night trying to not be creepy myself, but still open to hopefully catching a glimpse of Rosie. I didn't. However, my last night there was somewhat terrifying. I remember waking from my nightmare and realizing I had a bloody nose. Happens to me in those dry climates. I proceeded to clean myself up, and as I'm wiping blood off my face in the bathroom, I hear this most terrifying scream come from right behind the door to my room. Rushing to the peephole, which was maybe 5 feet from the bathroom, I saw that no one was in the hall. Getting dressed, I left the room and went to the front desk and asked if they have ever heard the story of Rosie, and if so, where was the old honeymoon suite located. The clerk, without missing a beat, said it's the last room at the end of the hall on the top floor. My room. Needless to say, I was happy to be leaving the following morning. Sorry if this was long-winded. Feel free to edit as needed. Thanks, guys. Max. We did not edit any of it because I thought the whole story was great. And that is spooky as hell. Yeah. And I would be happy to learn the history of that at the end when I'm leaving. Otherwise, it'd be like, new room, please.
Did he say if he stayed in the room then? Or did he switch?
He said he left. Good thing he left the next morning. So he stayed.
So he stayed in it.
He stayed in it. And then he has a link to the website, and I did look at it, so it kind of gives a little history of the hotel. So I'll put that in our show notes.
That's
so thank you, Max.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That was creepy.
He was. I hate stories of like lights being left on. I'm like, did I do that, or was that? And I just try to convince myself I was the one who left the light on.
In an old house, I stayed there for like a year. Let's see, how long did I? This was right after college. I lived there for it was just over a year. And there was a basement light that you had to pull, like a pull cord to turn on. And it was on every once in a while. Ugh. And it creeped me out. In my mind, I blamed the cats. In my mind, they jumped up and grabbed the string.
I mean, some cats do that.
But you really had to pull on it. So I still told myself that. And if it was on, I honestly left it.
You're like, I'm just going to leave that there.
I'm like, yeah, it'll shut off eventually. Knowing very well I had to turn it off.
It turns on its own. It'll turn off on its own.
I said it was a basement light too, right? Yeah. It was creepy.
Yeah, that makes it more creepy.
You ready for my next story?
I am. Creep me out.
This one, I lost the name. Their name was like redacted for some reason.
Okay.
So, another Reddit one. They said, I worked in IT for a guy named Mike Milken, and I was going to take his name out to keep it private, but apparently he's well known.
Okay. Well, plus, if it's posted on Reddit, it's already...
Yeah, other people know it. So anyway, he puts a huge conference on every year that brings world leaders and billionaires together, and they write for conferencing. They don't know...
What for?
It's called Global Conference. So then they put a thing called the milkeninstitute.org. So they have, if you really want to look up the conference and go to it, it says, we would rent out pretty much all of the Beverly Hilton for a full 7 days. You can go to this if you like, if you have thousands of dollars to do so. He says he's interested in hotel staff and hauntings. So I asked every staff member about any other worldly experiences. I heard a couple of people talk about Merv Griffin, whose name, he sounded familiar, I was reading this. Merv Griffin, the game show creator, host, composer. It says he bought the place in the 80s and loved to hang out there after he retired. After he died, the staff said they would see him, not as a ghostly shape, but as actual Merv, walking down one of the hallways near the kitchens occasionally. Ultimately, though, the cleaning staff was terrified of the 8th floor. It's not a tall hotel, and the 8th floor was a party-type room. It was a medium-sized banquet-type area with a low ceiling. It has a bathroom and a view of Beverly Hills with rounded red leather couches and maroon velour side walls. There's a curved bar and glass tables with razor blade marks on them from the copious amounts of cocaine that have been chopped up for consumption.
Wow.
I know you see this room in your head skull right now. I like how they word that. The story goes that there was a lady that would go up there and clean the place by herself after the parties were over. One night, she was almost done and finishing up in the bathrooms cleaning the sinks. She heard a girl behind her, then something brush across her shoulder. She turned quickly around and no one was there. She turned back to the sink and there was a piece of gum where there had previously been none. She swore there was no gum in the sink prior as she was cleaning when it happened, so that was her focus. After that, the cleaning staff would not go up there unless they had to at night, and they would go in pairs. They also started to clean the floor in the morning, again, with 2 people. Anyway, my buddy / coworker and I had to go up and check this out. We were getting chills listening to the story and had to see for ourselves. So at about 9 p.m., we went up there as it was vacant for the night, and we pretty much had the run of the hotel. Right before we went up, though, we saw one of the cleaning staff and told him we were going up. He had this look on his face like, "You're an idiot." We head up, check the whole room out, and take it in like I described above. We go over to the little bathroom where the gum incident happened, and we recreated the scene. I stood at the sink, my buddy brushed my shoulder, and I turned around. Nothing. Absolutely nothing at all. We didn't feel coldness or freakiness, just plain old us on the top floor. We were a bit disappointed, and we were saying things like, "What did we expect?" type conversation. We noticed the weird music on the speaker in the elevator that we hadn't noticed coming up. It was a girl kind of singing, laughing, very electric stuff. When we got off, we saw the cleaning dude from earlier and told him that we saw nothing. There was no ghost up there. Then my buddy mentioned the interesting choice of music in the elevator. The cleaning guy said, "What music?" And we replied, "The music in the elevator." He then pointed out there's no speaker in the elevator, never has been. They say, we shit our pants, went back into the elevator, cautiously, because we couldn't believe that what we were hearing was not coming from a speaker. Being IT experts, we knew how to look for wires and speakers and covers and such, and there were none. It was an old elevator that just wasn't weird for that. We noped out of the elevator and tried to avoid it the rest of the time we worked there.
That's fun.
Yeah, so, like, disembodied music.
Like, they weren't spooked because they didn't realize it wasn't supposed to be there, and then when they did realize that it was not supposed to be there, they didn't want to go back in.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't either. Nice. My next story, I also got off of Reddit. I think that's going to be our common denominator right there. And it is from South Dakota Driver, and you guys will notice our theme this week was haunted hotel rooms. And so he had a couple acronyms in here that I do not know what they stand for. Like, I saw GM and I understood general manager, but there's a couple other ones that I'm just going to say the letters and you go from there. And so he labeled this Seriously Haunted Hotel. So this tale takes place way back in the before times, even further back to ancient times when dinosaurs roamed the earth, and I was a shiny new FDA for 3 or 4 years, and my very first ever night audit job. So we're talking early 1990s. So, it sounded like it was a very old-timey story, but he's just making a joke, obviously. I had a close friend who was HHK at a Nights Out hotel. I had been working as HSK FDA at a pretty rundown no-tell motel, complete with extremely low pay, sketchy guests, and a general manager from the very bowels of hell. One fine day, a friend called me asking if I knew how to do NA. Of course, I had zero knowledge of NA. When the friend told me her boss was in a fix and desperate to fill the shift, plus the fact that she had recommended me, plus the wage being paid for that position, I literally jumped in my car and flew to the hotel to apply. Got the job. OMG, happy dance in the parking lot after receiving the job offer. My first night training with the part-time NA, I was given a lot of info, maybe 60% useful standard training on NA duties. The rest, well, my guy was what one might call slightly off. I mean, like some pretty intense, paranoid, scary stuff, so I chose to nod and look as if I were processing this nonsense. Didn't want to cause issue with a coworker, and I really needed to succeed at this job. At the time, I was flat broke, single mom trying to get by with zero help, and this was a really high-paying job at the time. One of the many strange tales he told me had to do with how the full-time NA position came available. According to him, one dark and stormy night, a former NA girl arrived as usual, put away her purse and coat, and went for a quick smoke with the PM FDA. During smoke break, NA girl mentioned some strange and random events that had occurred, and expressed that things were starting to freak her out pretty bad. Things like weird noises. Well, it's a hotel, FFS, what does she expect, I thought. Which, I guess, it depends on what the weird noise is to me. Like,
if it's a big enough hotel and I hear something like, oh, there's people on other floors, but if it's
then
like
we have to remember it's the 90s. Yeah, and it's the 90s, so there's not as much creepy stuff out there yet. There's a lot of creepy movies out there, but not enough to be like whatever's creeping her out is obviously doing a good job. So things like weird noises, stuff in the laundry and breakfast area being moved around when no one was in there, etc. Weird stuff continued. An A girl became more freaked out until one day shift arrived to find FD unattended. A search by FD and HSK, see, I don't know what any of these stand for, was conducted. An A girl was nowhere on property. Her car was gone, but she left her coat and personal belongings behind. My thought was, she had been kidnapped during a robbery? No, all money accounted for, no indications of anything unusual, just a missing NA person. I need to mention for the younger, under 50 fam, that in the old days, it was not usual for businesses to have surveillance cameras, so there was no video to review to find out what the F happened. Police were not called as general manager decided that N8 girl had simply abandoned her job mid-shift. Unfortunately, a thing that does happen. So, weird part-time dude tells me the story, I guess in an attempt to frighten me, but having been a lifelong believer in the supernatural in the home I grew up in being haunted, I wasn't overly concerned. Plus the fact that Mr. Paranoid expounded at length about government conspiracies, aliens, outer space type, living in his trailer park, men in black following him around the grocery store, yada yada yada. I basically nodded and forgot the whole thing. Until one dark and stormy night by myself, having graduated training, no more Mr. Paranoid, yay me, I entered the pool area to replace the dirty towels with clean ones. Now, this particular property had a huge indoor pool accessed by a heavy metal fire door near FD. Pool closed at 10 p.m. My shift started at 11 p.m. So about 12, he said 12 m, I'm going to say midnight. So about 12 midnight, I grabbed the key for the pool area and pushed my laundry cart full of towels into the pool area, heading for the closet where towels were stored. The lights were off except for the small emergency lights by the exits. So he's just guessing. He doesn't know what lights they were. Main door open next to FD, plus a permanently locked fire door leading to our parking lot. I pushed my cart of towels to the closet and began stacking them on the shelves. My back to the pool, suddenly I heard a very loud splash. The noise unique to when someone cannonballs into the deep end of the pool. Shit, someone is in the damn pool. Oh my god, my boss is gonna be pissed. I spun around, expecting to confront one or more kids screwing around. Nope. No one. No kids, no adults, not even a mouse. I momentarily questioned my sanity and hearing, but quickly noticed the water in the pool was moving, as it does after someone jumps in. And the pool deck at the deep end was wet. So, like when someone splashes the water out, yeah. Aw, hell no. I realized the hair on my back of my neck was standing straight up, and I had goosebumps in places where goosebumps should never be found. I ran, not walked, the hell out of the pool area and waited for the newspaper delivery guy to show up with papers for our guests. Told you this was in ancient times. We actually had newspapers that we delivered to the rooms. From that night on, I never went into the pool area until a newspaper guy arrived and escorted me in to put away clean towels and take away dirty ones to laundry. And then they just stated they have more spooky stories from that property, but this post has already become way too long. We'll tell the stories in another post. So I might search out to see more of his posts just because I thought that was a pretty good story. Mm-hmm. I apologize. I have no idea. I didn't Google, but I'm just like what NA stands for and everything. It's just, I know they're just different titles for the property there. But I got GM. I'm like, I know that's general manager.
That was kind of cool. Did something go in the water? Was there a person?
Yeah, well, and I like how he noticed, it was just the noise, but then the water was rippled, and there was water on the pool deck, which should have been pretty much dried out since the pool closed 2 hours earlier. But yeah, it said 12 m, so I'm assuming he meant 12 midnight.
That's my guess, too.
Yeah. But it's a newspaper, so yeah, I don't know. You have one more story for us?
Yep. I have one more, and then I have a surprise thing for you.
All right.
Okay, so this is from Reddit, from 12noodle12. They write, my aunt lives in the Isle of Arran, a small island in Scotland. She used to work in Brodick Castle. I don't know if it's Brodick or Brodick.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a castle. Ooh. And everyone who works or has worked there will tell you it is haunted. It says, you get told all the classics, like hearing footsteps and seeing doors slam. One story always stuck out to me about a dog and its owner staying the night. The owner wakes up realizing the dog isn't in his room. So the owner runs out into the hallway to find the dog calmly walking down the dark stretch of hallway of the castle, but the dog was looking up at nothing while strolling as if it was side by side with someone and looking up at them. The dog walked all the way down the corridor, completely ignoring its owner. It says, just seeing your dog walk in pitch black with an invisible entity gets me creeped. It says, I've been to the castle myself, and it's hella spooky. That sounds kind of cool.
That is cool. I like that because, yeah, the dog clearly whatever it's with, it's not spooking it out.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially, I mean, like our cats and dogs will look at things that we can't see, and I'm like, what are you looking at?
Yeah.
You're spooking me out.
Like, is there a fly? Okay, we're just going to go with that.
And then here's my surprise thing. So while I'm looking up stories and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to do this, at least like, I don't know, here and there. You know how we like have scary stories or we watch something scary and then we need something positive after?
Yeah.
Here's something positive. It was on this thing. It's from petsreporter.com, and they have these things called college confessions and just people writing random things, college students. And this one person writes, and I've heard things kind of like this before. She writes, I live next to an elderly man that lives alone and always tries to find somebody to talk to.
Aw.
Sometimes I go over there with problems that are easily fixable, but I do it to make them feel needed. I'm like, oh, that's nice.
That's really
It made me happy.
sweet.
Like, make people feel
Yeah.
like they're needed.
That's
Okay,
cute.
so that was a positive thing after our creepy
Thank
stuff,
you.
so we can
I think that's fun.
have more positive energy.
I like that. So anyone who's listening late at night and is a little spooked has a little happy surprise at the end.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. If you can, let us know what you think. Give us a comment. And you can also email your stories at creepytravelspodcast@gmail.com. We would like to actually start doing this weekly instead and change things up. Let us know what you think, and we'll talk to y'all next week.